All right. So, um, I'm live now. I think I'm live now. I think the mic is on now. Um, how's everybody doing? How are you guys? Wanted to talk about the Suicide Squad. Thought I would hop on here real quick. Um, Missed yesterday foolishness with my son, so thought I would, go ahead and chat. Laundry is getting washed up. I had some thoughts on my mind about this new movie. I don't understand what the big hype was around it now that it's out. It's gotten a lot of praise from critics, and I do not understand the unanimous praise at all. Um, I'm not in the same boat as Beyond the Trailer. I think she does make some good points about violence and who the violence in the Suicide Squad movie is perpetrated against. Um, but that's not really my issue with the movie. I do have issues with the movie. I do think the Suicide Squad movie did need some work, but I just don't entirely understand what was supposed to be accomplished, I guess. I think that's probably my biggest issue. I don't know what it was supposed to be doing. Um, I watched the movie on HBO Max. I had talked to some people on my last live stream, and on my last live stream, I said I would go see it in person at the theater. But after I saw it on HBO Max, it really didn't seem like it was worth the trouble of going to the theater for. I was expecting a much better looking movie too. So I guess I should just start there. The trailers, some of the initial posters, all of the stuff I was seeing was leading me to believe that it was going to be a lot better looking of a film, but it's pretty bland and pretty anonymous. The photographer for this movie did Maleficent and the Legend of Tarzan and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was pretty good, but um the cinematographer was Henry Brom. But yeah, the Golden Compass didn't really do much for me. The Legend of Tarzan did have some good shots, some good lighting. It's pretty decent texturing, but yeah, overall, nothing here really jumps out. Oh, Nanny McPhee, that was pretty good visually. Um, but yeah, besides Nanny McPhee and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, nothing here really just sticks out as extremely remarkable. I didn't I didn't really catch much about the movie visually that was just extraordinary. Um, I mean, beyond the cinematography, though, actually getting into the film, it didn't cohere for me thematically. I didn't see what it was trying to say or where it was going. I know James Gunn did have some point. There was something he was trying to say because the movie opens with the Suicide Squad walking in front of the American flag. So there has to be some bigger point being made. Um, and it also makes me wonder why he didn't use Rick Flag uh, more. I think Flag is an interesting character, and I would have liked to see Rick Flag used, I guess, with a little bit more, mm, maybe a little bit more care. He is used. He actually gets a lot of great use in this movie. He's used much more and much better than he was used in Suicide Squad by David Ayer. James Gunn definitely has some kind of affinity for the character, but on the moral scale, it seems like he's not really U.S. agent, and then he's not really Captain America either. But then it's not entirely clear if he's in a moral gray area. Then why was he disturbed by the task they were committing? So I was a little confused about his morality, and that kind of took the wind out of the sails of the point I think the director was trying to make. So I don't think it cohered at that level really. And I know people say the movie has heart or it tries to get you in the feels, but there was really just one legitimately emotional scene with Idris Elba and his daughter. And beyond that, I really don't know that there was heart in the movie. I mean, I was watching Observations earlier, and someone made the point that it was kind of a Tim Burton meets Quentin Tarantino because it hops around and it has a lot of affinity for weird people. I have to agree, but um, weird people are cool. But if you're one note and weird, I don't think it mixes very well because everyone is weird the same way. They're all socially awkward and they're all kind of dumb. So Polka Dot Man is socially awkward and kind of dumb. Harley Quinn socially awkward, kind of dumb. King Shark's really dumb and socially awkward. Peacemaker is socially awkward, not as dumb. So they all kind of fall on the same outcast weird scale. Uh Idris Elba and Rick Flag are the only two characters that aren't socially awkward or dumb. They're just, what's a good word? Maybe misanthropic. So that's probably the two extremes. You're either dumb or a misanthrope in the Suicide Squad movie. So it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I think more variety in the characters would have been welcome. I know someone, again, when I was watching Observations, had mentioned Scandal Savage and had mentioned doing something more like a Secret Six. And Secret Six makes me jump directly to Catman. And it would have been great to see Catman in this movie. I think that would have been a nice contrast to some of the more hard-edged violent characters, without being dumb, because it seems like those were the two extremes. You were either a really hyper violent character or a dumb character, but then some characters were hyper violent and dumb. So I wasn't very sure what point was trying to be made. Beyond the trailer did make an interesting point, again circling back to what I very first saw and kind of my thoughts as I watched the movie. She did make a point about looking at the level of violence and who the violence was perpetrated against. And I do see her point. I believe it is a valid point to some degree, but um, it doesn't really, the violence doesn't bother me, number one, because it's not done well. The movie's just violent, but with no real art. The violence has no style or real choreography to it. It's all kind of just a CGI mishmash. It all looks fake. Um, none of the violence has any real weight. And then it's not balletic either, or rhythmic, or well choreographed. And there are a lot of edits and weird cuts for no reason during action scenes. I guess to jump doubles in and out of a scene. It kind of gives it a Born Ultimatum-ish feel a lot of times when it gets into heavy action. Um, so yeah, I can't really understand that. So the violence didn't bother me on that level. And then also the violence didn't bother me from the perspective of who it was being perpetrated against, because it doesn't seem like James Gunn had any theme he was trying to maintain coherently over time. So that was probably the biggest issue with the whole movie. Aside from the fact that it was kind of ugly, aside from the fact that the CGI was pretty bad, and I don't know why there was so much of it. It didn't look realistic at all. King Shark did not look real, which I'm sure James Gunn had to have noticed because he comes from trauma. He comes from practical effects. He comes from Slither and Super. I feel like Slither was a really good hybrid of CGI and practical effects. Um, a matter of fact, Slither's ending has some really great practical effects that remind me of the first Blade film. But I really just don't understand what was trying to be said. There was something being said about maybe American exceptionalism or America's predilection for violence. Um, Abroad, America as world police. Um, I just don't. I don't know. I feel like he could have made a better point, maybe by doing his homework a little bit more or picking a different location. If you're going to make the Suicide Squad movie take place in South America, there are some very specific critiques of American foreign policy in South America related to coups, overthrowing dictators, drugs. You could have discussed the drug trade is rife there. The CIA, Iran Contra. So there are some parallels you could make with some fictional characters and try to create some kind of a metaphor or allegory for people, but I feel like it didn't mesh all the way there. But then he also created a fictional country. So I think if he was going to do that, he could have picked a fictional country in the Middle East or in Asia, somewhere in the Pacific, maybe like a Guam, or I just don't really know, or maybe like a Java. I don't know. He seems like he could have gone anywhere, and it was just kind of strange that he used South America because nothing in the story is specifically South American. So that didn't really make a lot of sense. Um, just a lot of, I guess overall, there were so many little questions I had that it kind of ruined the movie for me overall as a whole. Um, why was Harley Quinn kind of, I guess, inconsistently intelligent, and inconsistently capable? So I think there were times that she kind of struggled that I really wouldn't think she would have struggled at all. And then there were times that she just really tore through hordes of people, and I felt like she would have been overwhelmed. Um, so it was a little inconsistent there, but I mean, it's a movie, so that kind of thing is forgiven because you have to be able to move the characters around and get them into specific scenarios. But I just didn't know what the scenarios meant for the characters, why the characters were being put through what they were being put through. King Shark is another one. King Shark in the Harley Quinn show recently has been fairly intelligent. And in this movie, making him dumb really didn't do anything. I mean, he was just comic relief or a way to provide contrast in a scene when it was going on too long or getting too wordy. He'd be used to kind of create a little quick change of pace, lighten the mood, take the air out of a tense scene. Um, but the character really could have been eliminated totally, and nothing would have changed. He really had no impact on the plot. He some Most of the things he did probably could have been fused with the Peacemaker character and wouldn't have changed much of anything. Visually, he would be cool if he was practical or maybe a practical CGI hybrid. Um, but I mean, really, everything boils down to the cost of the film. I think just overall the story, um, I mean, the characters, the way they were used, all of it comes down to the cost of the movie. The movie was way too big for its own good. It never should have been this big. A Suicide Squad movie should never be $150 million, $200 million, somewhere in between those two numbers. It should never get that high. At the most, it should be 50 million. At the let me see. I will look at what John Wick 3 costs to make. I'll look it up now. And that is how much one of these should cost. There's no reason why it should ever cost more than that. So I will look it up. John Wick 3 Parabellum per Wikipedia cost $75 million to create and made $326 million. That's probably where this movie is going to end up, honestly. It'll probably make around $300 million. Hopefully it legs that out. It stays in theaters long enough. So yeah, the budget was way too big and it never should have gone to HBO Max. It made no sense that it went to HBO Max the Thursday before it came out. That was ridiculous. There's really no reason to make it come out that early. It gives people that want to pirate it a head start on the whole weekend. So if I want to make a bootleg copy of Suicide Squad, and have it done by Thursday night and have it up Friday morning. So anybody that wanted to catch the movie could easily just find it for free online Friday, early Friday. So really don't understand the logic there. It also just discourages people from going to the theater overall. You know, there's enough time for me to make a watch party and invite some people over and watch it Thursday night or Friday night. Um, so you lose out on people want to go see it the first time, repeat viewings. Um, I mean, it just didn't. The release strategy made no sense. The budget made no sense. I think it would have made a lot more sense for HBO Max to just put movies out on a case by case basis and let some stay theatrical exclusive. Suicide Squad definitely would have been amazing as an exclusive to the theater. Godzilla versus Kong also would have been great as an exclusive. And it probably should have been held back until the summer also. So I don't know why it got pushed forward. Um, I think Space Jam could have honestly come out when Godzilla versus Kong came out, or Mortal Kombat, but that's neither here nor there. Um, Overall, the Suicide Squad movie was just very, very weird. I was trying to understand it the whole time. James Gunn clearly has an affinity for comic books, so I can never really doubt his bona fides when it comes to the characters and his knowledge of the characters. But it seems like he subverted the expectations of the comic book fans, and he subverted the expectations of a mainstream audience, but to create a film that is not making a point. And it's just trying to be cool. But if you make a movie that's only cool, it has to be really cool, like a Pulp Fiction or Django Unchained, or yeah, pretty much all Quentin Tarantino movies are just stupid and have no real theme or point, but they're really cool. So if you want to make a really cool movie, it has to be 100% cool. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just airtight, cool all the way around. But this movie is not that. So it's not really cool. And it's also really expensive and very weird and comic booky. So I don't know. I'm just kind of confused by the entire process that brought this movie to life. I don't understand why Starro was used. Well, let's take a step back. I don't understand why Starro was spoiled. I don't know why they put the Starro information in the trailer. And I believe they put the Starro information in the first trailer, the first full trailer. So I don't know why they spoiled Starro being in the movie. That was terrible. That was really dumb. I can't think James Gunn wanted Starro spoiled. Um, really took pretty much all the momentum out of the movie. I was of the mind that the reviews were saying there's so many twists and turns, and it seems like Warner Brothers was so cavalier with releasing the Starro information. Figured maybe there was a twist or there was another villain, some secondary villain, or something else that was going to happen after Star was revealed that would make it kind of pale in comparison to whatever else was going to happen. But no, it was just Starro. And in Starro's defense, there's no logical way Suicide Squad could take out Starro. So that really made no sense at all. It would be like a Suicide Squad movie where the Suicide Squad fights Bizarro, or um, something else ridiculous they could not really handle. Fin Fang Foom is Marvel's character, but someone ridiculously overpowered. It would have made more sense to use KG Beast, and then you could have made his political point he wanted to make. KG Beast would have been better. I personally would have thought it'd be fun to see Deathstroke here, because Joe Manganiello has always been talking about Deathstroke, talking about his armor for Deathstroke, what he would have did if he was Deathstroke, talking about how much he wanted the Batman movie to come out with Deathstroke. So it's not like he wouldn't want to do the movie. I feel like Deathstroke would have been a really good character. Uh, really could have brought back Will Smith and made Deadshot the villain. Um, or the package they were going after, their main source of conflict, the MacGuffin or whatever, could have been Will Smith. Definitely a big enough star to make that work. I don't really trying to see. I mean, I know we talked about Scandal Savage, but Vandal Savage also could have been great. Vandal Savage could have been the main villain for sure. He's powerful enough. He's right in that mid league. Bane, if Bane had his Venom, he could have been an interesting character for them to fight as a group. Really, if you want to use King Shark so badly, King Shark could have been the thing they were chasing after. King Shark, he's bulletproof, but fairly small scale. Maybe they were experimenting on trying to come up with some new armor or new padding for tanks, I mean, there's some kind of excuse you could use to bring King Shark in and make him a part of the situation as the villain. But I really don't understand the choice of villain at all. I know most people that saw the movie probably didn't understand the choice of villain. Yeah, the whole thing really did not add up for me at all. So the cost was an issue, the villain was an issue, the characters were strange. And the violence was off-putting. It was off-putting because of who it was happening to, but it was also off-putting because of the execution of the violence. It just, I mean, it looked cheap. The CGI looked really fake. It looked obviously CGI. None of the gore or decapitations or blood looked like it was practical at all. Nothing looked like it was actually happening on set or that anyone was reacting organically to a squib or to any kind of on-set activity. Everything looked like it was made completely in post, and it was boring because of that. There were no stakes. It was totally flat. The movie was dull. I think it also might have affected the cinematography too. I don't know, maybe if there was color correction used, but the movie overall was very flat. I was expecting to see something wider, something more textured, something with more contrast between light and dark in sequences, in sequential order, and also within sequences. I wanted to see more of a contrast, textural contrast, light contrast. The costume design was phenomenal, though. Peacemaker looked great. Rick Flag looked great. Harley Quinn had a great outfit. All of the costume design was excellent. But I just couldn't really understand what was happening, why it was happening, what the momentum was, what the goal was. I already didn't really understand why the movie needed to exist, but I mean now that it's out, I really don't think it should have been made. I think they should have either, I think someone said call it Task Force X. That would have been great. I think they should have cast someone else in the lead role. I think they should have focused on just making a solid action movie instead of trying to make it a big DC thing. If they just made it a solid action movie and then they put the DC logo on it, probably would have done fine, and they kept it low budget. But at the end of the day, the stars were also an issue too. I believe John Campea brought up a few good reasons, but he never brought up the fact that Idris Elba can't break a movie. Had Margot Robbie. I don't know. I'll have to look that up one day and see what she says if she ever repeats her own name in an interview. But anyway, Harley Quinn and Bloodsport cannot open movies. The actors playing those two characters are not actors that people want to see in theaters. They don't want to pay money. They're not superstars like that. They're not movie stars like that. I don't know how to really say that. I think in Idris Elba's case, he's just too good looking. Um, I don't know if anyone has ever made that observation, but Idris Elba's just, just a very handsome guy, fairly tall, cool accent. So there's really nothing to hate about him, which would make other men hate him. And since the Suicide Squad's audience was mostly men, I don't think they wanted to see someone that attractive or bring a date to something with Idris Elba as the main character. I honestly think that's why he hasn't done very well as an actor in America, because he's too intimidating to American men. I mean, he's really. I think Matthew McConaughey same issue. I mean, I don't think men want to see a guy with a cool accent that's really handsome, interesting. I think they need them to have some kind of a flaw, like a Frank Grillo or even a Clint Eastwood. Um, if you want to go rough and tumble, I think going that route, or Gerard Butler, you know, Sylvester Stallone. These guys they're not 100%, super handsome. They're more rugged. And I think that connects better with men. I think seeing a guy like a Idris Elba, he's just too, I mean, he's a pretty boy, but he's also been an MMA fighter, but he's also been a DJ and a rapper, and he likes anime. I mean, he's one of the most well-regarded actors in Hollywood. So it's, I don't know how you really find a fault to really latch onto. Like Will Smith, yes, he's a big movie star and he's relatable. People see themselves in him. They can connect. He's not the most handsomest guy. He's not the ugliest guy. He doesn't have life figured out. He's a cuck, more or less. He's a cuckold. Um, just by the textbook, the classical definition of a cuckold, not the way people use it online. So he's human. He's fallible. Idris Elba doesn't really come across as fallible. I mean, Hobbs and Shaw, he was the villain there. That movie didn't do very well. The Dark Tower, he didn't do too well with that, and that was him and Matthew McConaughey, which I think is a double dose of a problem there. I don't think men want to turn out to see them. I think they make men too uncomfortable. But the Will Smith Margot Robbie pairing, that went well for Focus, and that went well for Suicide Squad. So I don't know why they didn't bring Will Smith back for a three-peat with Margot Robbie, Ruby. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't just bring Deadshot and Harley Quinn back together. That would have made a lot more sense financially. But maybe Will Smith was too expensive, but they were already spending a lot of money. So I feel like they could have gave him a small amount of money up front and then gave him some money on the back end too. But with the pandemic, maybe it was good that they didn't do that. Yeah, I don't know why they picked Idris Elba. I like him a lot, but he's not really a movie star. His role definitely could have gone to Will Smith. His role could have gone to really any actor that was lower budget would have been fine. Like Frank Grillo, he would have been perfectly serviceable. It might have been fun to see like a Keanu Reeves or something. I really don't know. I mean, I'm always a fan of Laz Alonso. I like seeing him around. He was in The Boys. I feel like he could have done it for cheaper. Um, who else? I don't know who else could have been Bloodsport really. Uh, Statham, but again, expensive. So I don't know. I don't know. Suicide Squad has some problems. It was kind of a turnoff of a movie, honestly, from a few different angles. From the comic book fan perspective, it didn't really give me a lot. I would have liked to see more comic book lore used. Not Starro. Starro isn't. I don't want to see that on screen really at all ever. not really a very visually engaging character. And then they didn't use any practical effects to bring Starro to life or any practical effects on the actors when they got mind controlled by Starro. So Starro was just a strange choice. His power set didn't really match with the Suicide Squad. Visually, he wasn't really much fun to look at or brought to life with really any kind of verve or panache or uh, relish. He just kind of got tossed up there in 3D. They just kind of did a basic render of him, plopped that in the middle of a basically rendered CGI, dusty South American anonymous place. Um, so yeah, overall, I'm not sure where Suicide Squad was going or what the outcome they wanted would be. If they had wanted the movie to make more money, it should have been more mainstream. It could have easily been a PG-13 movie. The movie could have been PG-13 and really lost none of its point because the violence didn't really serve a point. I don't really understand why the movie was violent as it was. Um, it could have been maybe not funnier. Could have been lighter. It got a little dark. Got a little confusing. I don't know that Ratcatcher was also the right way to go. I know he's probably approaching it from that Rocket Raccoon standpoint of taking something that people might not immediately like or have any sympathy for and then making you feel sympathetic for. But I don't think Ratcatcher 1 or 2 got enough time on screen to really become endearing. You kind of have to just enjoy the archetype and fill in the blanks. And then when the ending comes and Ratcatcher 2 has a more emotional moment, you're supposed to kind of go with it based on the context. But I don't think it was really earned in the overall pacing of the film. I don't know. I don't know if anyone watches this ever. I hope you just let me know what your thoughts were on the movie or why it was good or why it was bad to you. Because to me, it was not that great, not as bad as the first Suicide Squad movie, of course, because that was incomprehensible. But I've seen a lot of people trashing the Birds of Prey movie, but hyping this movie up. But I don't know why. I feel like they're both as good as each other. I really wouldn't want to rewatch either one. I'd be just as likely to watch either if they both popped up on HBO Max at the same time. So, and honestly, Birds of Prey had much more memorable fight choreography. The fight choreography for Suicide Squad was pretty terrible. I believe they brought in some John Wick staff for Birds of Prey though, so I guess that explains that. But yeah, Black Canary had some good fight scenes in Birds of Prey. Harley Quinn had a good scene. Her action scene in Birds of Prey was better choreographed, better lit, staged better with better camera editing, and overall is more interesting than whatever was going on in this movie. Harley Quinn had two really good, very memorable fight scenes in Birds of Prey, just in one set piece, just going into the police station. So this movie couldn't really muster that. She also had a weird, like a Kill Bill Volume 1 kind of spaced out, colorful, abstract art action scene, which I guess was created the way it was created to avoid an NC-17. But I mean, the movie is violent, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make any sense. It's violent, but I mean, is it supposed to be funny or supposed to be cool or neither? It's supposed to make you actually reflect on real life South American genocides and coups. So that was the part. It was inexplicable to me why they used as much violence as they did, and then why, to be on the trailer's point, it was perpetrated against the people. It was perpetrated against. It was strange that they just indiscriminately killed people that were possessed by Starro because they knew from the beginning they'd be possessed by Starro, and they still just shot him anyway. And there's really no mention or repercussions or second thoughts or condolences. I don't know. Suicide Squad movie is very, very weird. I really don't understand it at all. I wanted to understand it. I wanted it to be my favorite movie of the year. Truth be told, I was looking forward to the Suicide Squad the most out of any of the movies coming out this year, and I felt like between this and Guardians of the Galaxy, he was being very well used as a director. James Gunn had found a niche of kind of bringing weirdos to life. But I would add an addendum to that, an asterisk, and say he's really good at bringing family friendly weirdos to life because other than that, I don't really understand at all. The Weasel character was a child killer, but then it seemed like that was supposed to be funny, or I really don't really know what was funny about it, or why they would bring the character. They didn't even establish that it was worth taking him because of XYZ skill, and that's why they need him, even though he's reprehensible. They just mention something heinous he did, and then move on throughout the movie and never bring it up again. So I just don't really know what people are getting from the movie. So if anyone wants to just leave me a comment and let me know what exactly was good about the Suicide Squad movie or why it was important, just let me know because I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. Did not make a lick of sense to me. Um, love Joel Kinnaman. He's really good as Rick Flag. I knew he had it in him, but I got to give James Gunn a lot of credit for, even though I didn't understand a lot of the characters or why they were used, he does get a lot out of the actors in the performances as those characters. So, Polka Dot Man, Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, King Shark, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, they all get used well. The actors all get a lot of good use. Rat Catcher too. Each of these characters all get a lot of great use, but I don't know why those characters were used or what their function was um, thematically, what was trying to be said. Or I know at one point this movie, I guess, was supposed to deal with fighting Superman. That would make no sense. They talked about Supergirl. That would make slightly more sense. Um, I might be mixing my metaphors, but I think Lobo was discussed at one point too, which would make a kind of sense, but he's also extremely powerful. So there's really no point using him either. Honestly, to touch back on what they brought up in the first Suicide Squad, they could have used Morgan Le Fay. Um, they could have used Clarion the Witch Boy. Um, Captain Cold. They could have used a Flash villain. Um, Mirror Master. I think Mirror Master could have been a fun villain because he deals so much visually with perception and scale and trick photography and angles of lighting and disorientation. And it could have been almost like a fun Mysterio, like the Mysterio sequence from Spider-Man Far From Home. Could have used Mirror Master or something like that to that effect, where your perception is constantly changing, your surroundings are constantly changing. Mirror Master could have been pretty good. That's actually my favorite idea now. I was thinking Deathstroke at first, but Mirror Master could have worked really well in this context, and it would have given James Gunn a chance to cast someone else interesting because he was great with all of his casting. I don't think anyone here really was miscast. I think he picked a weird, bad group of characters, like a very uncommercial group of characters. Um, and I think again the team dynamics were off. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Gamora was a fighter, very intelligent, very blunt. Drax is a fighter, but very literal and source of your comedy. Rocket Raccoon was a talking raccoon, but he was also the tech guy. Groot is mostly the muscle. He doesn't talk, but he's with Rocket Raccoon, so they complement each other. They also visually contrast each other. Star-Lord is kind of like a cockier guy, but he's somewhat capable with thievery and sleight of hand tricks. But only Drax and Groot in that group are actually dumb. Everyone else has some level of intelligence, but Suicide Squad, everyone is dumb except Bloodsport and Rick Flag. Everybody else is just kind of a go along to get along person, not exceptionally intelligent or dumb, just kind of dim, gullible. Everyone's gullible, which actually I guess is kind of true to crime. A lot of criminals in real life are fairly gullible, end up in prison because of something someone else told them and they participated in, either unwittingly or believing that something more complex and dangerous would be pretty straightforward. So I definitely don't understand. Think that's all Suicide Squad comes down to. I I don't know if it's really career suicide for James Gunn. I mean, the box office is terrible, but that's not his fault. That's HBO's fault more than anything else. If there was one thing that could have been fixed to push that movie over the top and get it to 35, $40 million, I feel like it could have done double the business at 50 if there was just no HBO Max. I think HBO Max really hurt this movie. Um, but yeah, I was really looking forward to it. It definitely let me down, but I'm totally open to other people's opinions and I want to hear what other people are thinking. So talk to you guys later. Bye bye.